So, good morning. Good morning. Good morning. I do a lot of speaking and go a lot of places, and it's always great to be with social workers because we know the struggles of working with government, we know the struggles of working with the community, and so today we're going to talk about some of those things as well as get excited about the things that we do. So, to show our excitement, what I'd like for us to do is this cheer, all right? And I know it's kind of early, but it kind of gets us going and lets me know what the group is like and what I can expect in our presentation, all right? And so the cheer is very simple. I will ask a question, and I am a teacher by trade, all right? So I've been, it actually was the last thing I ever wanted to do was teach, but it's in my blood, and so I'm going to ask you a question, and like most teachers typically only ask questions that they have the answers to. All right? So I'm going to ask a question, but I'm going to give you the answer first. All right? I'm going to give you the answer first. And the answer goes like this. Fantastic. Terrific. Great. All day long. Huh. That's the answer. All right, so let's practice the answer. So you may have to put your book down, you may have to put your coffee down. Remember, safety first. All right? Safety first. So please stand. So the answer again is fantastic, terrific, great, all day long, good. All right? You got a little enthusiastic there. Now keep your balance, all right? So, MSSA, how do you feel? Fantastic, terrific, great, all day long. Woo! Okay, I got to tell you, that was really good. It's obvious we have Lutherans in here. But I am an evangelical, Pentecostal, apostolic, fire and brimstone, hallelujah, all day long man. So I want you to just let out your inner Pentecostal, if you will, and go with me on this. MSSA, how do you feel? Fantastic, terrific, great, all day long. Thank you so much. Thank you so much. Now, I really have to tell you, that was much more for me than it was for you. Because I am, in some cases, and I don't know if I like this term or not, energy vampire. But I get my energy from you, and thank you so much. So, we'll get started with our presentation today. I've been working with diversity issues all my life. And so we'll talk about some of my learnings. And it's really interesting when people ask me to come do keynote things. I'm not really sure what that is, like what a keynote is supposed to do. All I know is what I've learned as a teacher. And so today, whatever you think a keynote is supposed to be, that's cool. But what I'm going to do is just teach you what I've learned, all right? Because that's what I know to do. If I try to be or do anything else, it comes out really awkward and weird. So first of all, when you think of diversity, what comes up for you? What comes up for you in terms of diversity?
Differences and similarities.
Differences and similarities. I heard someone else. Variety. Okay. Variety comes up. Barriers. Okay. Individuality. Cultures. Oppression. It is my belief that oftentimes we talk about diversity in these very esoteric ways, in ways that don't mean a whole lot. If I asked 100 people to tell me about diversity, how many answers would I get? I would get 100 answers, right? And I was doing this with our attorneys, and our attorneys said 200 answers. Right? Which leads me to believe that diversity in and of itself has lost its value as a word. It's lost its definition. We're not sure what that means anymore. And so we're going to spend some time kind of talking about some of the concepts of diversity and how do we start to move towards a new paradigm. All right? So first of all, I want to show a clip from What Would You Do? Now, it's not last year, it's 2 years ago. I discovered this clip and was just so excited. And I was watching Dancing with the Stars. I'm embarrassed to say I love Dancing with the Stars. And this particular season was really exciting because they had Priscilla Presley on there. Did anyone see that season? Okay. The thing that was most amazing with having Priscilla Presley there was the fact that she really could dance. I mean, this sister could get down and she was kicking out and all this kind of stuff. But I also found it extremely strange that her expression never changed. The Botox had her. She always looked frightened, But after that show came the show, What Would You Do? And this is one of the episodes that came on, and I want to talk about this episode as we watch it. All right? So here we go. So take it away, John Quinones. So let's talk about it. I heard some laughter, I heard some sighs, I heard some oh no's. What happened? What did you see?
Reality.
You saw reality. What does that mean?
People face on a day-to-day basis.
You saw what people face on a day-to-day basis, okay? What else did you see?
Fear.
You saw fear. So you saw fear, you saw, what else?
Courage.
You saw courage. All right? Let me make sure.
I saw me.
You saw you. Tell me about that, Gloria.
Well, it's in such an enlightened world. I go to the grocery store with my Caucasian boyfriend or fiance, and they ask me, "Is this together? We're paying for our food."
Yeah. So
I said, most of the time.
most of the time it's together. Most of the time is it? Do you make him pay? Most of the time. All right. Good. All right. Yeah. But some of the things that I found interesting is when I watch that video, I always get a little choked up. I get a little emotional because it's not supposed to be that way, right? I mean, we're in 2009. We're in modern times. It's not supposed to be that way. ABC did a really good job of setting this up for us, right? They had the whole guitar, at the beginning to kind of set it up that Texas is what? Is backwards. I mean, seriously, I mean, that was, at least when I first saw it, that was my inclination to say, well, hey, that's Texas. What do you expect, right? Could that happen here?
Yes.
Yeah. It does happen here, right? I don't know if anyone saw the 2005 WCCO report when they did some housing and workplace investigations, and they came out with similar things. And so my question goes to some of the things that my colleagues ask me and some of my friends and people in the community ask me, and they say, Andre, has it gotten better? And what is my answer? And when I say has it, I'm talking about in terms of diversity. Has diversity gotten better? Are there more opportunities? Is there more inclusion happening? And my answer to them is what?
Yes.
No? You say yes? All right. So I just go back to what we saw in the video, right? So there were 6 people who were negative, and there were 13 people who were positive. Have things gotten better?
Yes.
Yes, they have gotten better. The problem is that the bar has been so low that these small increments we say is better. The bar was so low that anything is better than what it was. All right? Now, I'm on a personal mission, and some of you guys may remember this guy because I'm trying to undo some of the stuff that this dude did. And the guy whose work I'm trying to undo, his name is, and some of you aren't old enough to remember him, but his name is Richard Nixon. And he's the president that looked like a potato. I am not a crook. Right? And President Nixon coined this particular phrase that I think has been plaguing human beings ever since. And it is, this phrase is called, and some of you have maybe heard of this, it's called the silent majority. The silent majority. How many people, raise your hand if you've heard of that, the silent majority. Okay, so tell me what the silent majority is. The people who didn't say anything in the video. All right? And what's the general thought behind the silent majority? That they don't want to get involved. That they create no trouble. It's none of their business. Yes, ma'am.
That they support the status quo.
That they support the status quo. The silent majority. Now, one of the things that I know, and I don't know if you sit on organizations or boards, but I know that silence actually says something. I sit on the board of Alexandra House, and it's a battered women's shelter in Blaine, and I love the organization and what we do. We do great work. But I sit on the board, and there's a certain kind of conversation that happens at that table. We speak in certain kinds of ways when we're on a board, right? Because we have these things that we operate under called bylaws. And the way we conduct meetings, we use, what do we use? It's called something, rules of order. Robert's Rules of Order. I don't know who made Robert boss, but we just go with what Robert says, right? So we use Robert's Rules of Order to conduct business. And so when we go to make a decision, there are 4 ways in which we make a decision. The first way is, if I agree with something, I say, I, yay, yes, I agree. If I don't agree with something, I say, nay, no, I don't agree. Or, the third way that I make a decision in that group is that I say what? I say I abstain. I say, write it down. I do not want any part of this. Secretary, make sure you have my name next to, I don't want to be a part of that. That's what I say. And what's the fourth way that I make a decision? I say nothing. When we talk about diversity issues and we talk about a new paradigm, oftentimes people have the misconception that if I don't say anything and I don't cause any trouble, then I'm not part of the problem. And the truth is that what? You are the problem, right? I look at this 13 and I look at the 6, and I try to think about where the 6 get their courage. Where do they get their power to continue to live that kind of life? Are they bumping into a whole lot of 13s? Probably not, right? So they get their encouragement from the 22s. Now, one of the things that I also thought was very interesting is that, being a 13, we all might not be there yet, right? We all might not be ready to step out there and boom, just rah! However, what did you notice about the 13s as we watched the film? What did you notice? They were passionate. There were more women. They were passionate. There was emotion. They all went about it in a different way. There are 2 things that stand out for me. The first was that they all had a personal connection to the person who was being discriminated against. They had a story. My friend is this way, or my son went to, or my dad was. They had some personal connections to those people who are discriminated against. Part of what has happened in our society is we've been disconnected from each other. The things that happen in North Minneapolis, because I live in Mounds View, I don't see how I'm related to that. Or the things that happen in Eagan and the things that happen in Woodbury, I don't see how I'm related to that. One of the things that's extremely important as we move towards a new paradigm of talking about diversity and living diversity and looking for equality is that we're all connected. And I don't know if this shone a light to you. It did for me. This whole economic collapse thing just put everything in perspective. The low wages that get paid in India impact me in the United States. The fact that people, have need and want in Africa impacts me in the United States. So I'm connected to this global economy. So we're all connected. So we have some responsibility to each other. All right? The other thing that struck me was that those people were not alone. When they stood up, they had what we refer to in my business an ally, someone who had their back. All right? So when it's time for you to stand up, we'll talk about how you know when you're supposed to stand up and not, and all that kind of stuff, and when is it safe to do so. We'll spend a little time talking about that. But it's important that you don't fight this battle alone. Do not take your Bibles and just run into the rainforest. All right? Be a part of a network. Have support groups. Be with people who can help guide you and support you in the efforts where you feel your heart is. All right?